Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am building something from Willy Wonka. I recently watched the new movie, and no, I'm not going to build something from it. My favorite movie of all times is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the 1971 movie with Gene Wilder, and for some reason I've never built anything from it. I don't really know the reasoning why, but in that story, Charlie Bucket is given the chance to win a lifetime supply of chocolate. As a poor boy with little food on the table, it definitely hit home to me as a kid, and I loved it. So I thought it would be fun, because of my recent exploration into the new Willy Wonka, that I build something from the old. So today I am going to build Wonka's top hat from the original Willy Wonka, or at least the closest amalgamation I can make out of foam and some glue and paint, because I don't have felt or flocking or whatever the else would have been made. So today we are making Wonka's hat and bonus little chocolate bar out of foam. Let's get to building! I know the basic shape I need to get to, but I'm kind of guessing at how to go about doing it. I know I need a rough guesstimation of the circumference of my head, so I wrap my head with a strip of poster board and leave my thumb in it for just a little bit of wiggle room. I've seen enough top hats to know that the shape of the bottom will help determine the shape of the brim. I want it to dip down a little on the front and back and raise over my ears just a little bit, so I need to cut a curve into that area. Keep in mind, you are seeing me try this for the first time, so throughout the build I'll have to make modifications to get it to its final shape. Sometimes that's not noticeable until you build it. Modifications were made to my build and template about 3 times or so in the process, but you have the cheat codes available to you and can skip the headache by just downloading the pattern in the description below the video. With my pattern in hand, I am kind of ready to start building. Like I said previously, mods will be made, but I have fixed the template for you. I also want to point out that I have a ginormous head, which is 24 inches around the forehead. You may need to scale the pattern to fit you. I'll have a video that I will link down in the description below to help you get closer to a perfect fit. I trace my pattern onto some 6mm foam and cut it out. My pattern is cut out and I'm ready for glue up. I add contact cement to the 2 short sides of the strip and let it set up for a few minutes until it's no longer wet, and then tack the sides together. Then I heat up the straight top edge to stretch it out a little. Wonka's hat seems to flare out a little wider than the base does, so instead of trying to figure out that complex curve, I'm just going to force the foam into it by heating it up and pulling it. I keep it simple and it should work out in the end. Slowly heat up one section at a time and pull carefully. You don't want to pull too hard and rip the foam. Also be careful not to heat up the seam area up too much. The glue will separate and you'll have to realign a seam and it may mess it up a little bit. You know you've stretched it out enough when it fits the circumference of the top piece. Once it is stretched, I can then mark where the side and the top should line up with each other. That's why you don't see registration marks on the flat part of the side piece. Then, just like the side, I contact cement both parts, wait a few minutes for it to set up, and then tack the parts together. All parts that are proud can be sanded over. I went ahead and rounded over the top corner of my top hat with a rotary tool. The brim, just like the rest of the parts, gets traced out, cut, contact cemented, and tacked together. If you're closely looking at the pattern and the next clips or so, you'll see a size change in the hat. I have to put it on, look in a mirror, and then see if it's too tall or the brim's too wide, whatever it may be, and then make adjustments. I carved off the bottom of my hat and had to recut both parts smaller. The brim of Wonka's hat curls up on the sides and dips down in the front like a lot of top hats do, so I'm going to help my foam out a little bit by carefully heating up the edges and bending them into position. This took several trips to a mirror to see if it fit and I could reheat up areas and get it to the perfect shape that I wanted. The lip of the brim is not templated out, but it's just a long strip of 6mm foam cut into about a 1/2 inch wide strip that I then rounded over on the edges with a rotary tool once it was glued on. I shape it with a sanding drum and then smooth it over with a stone bit. Make sure to wear a respirator and work in a well-ventilated area while sanding EVA foam. You don't want to breathe those particles in. Ideally, I would have liked to have covered it in brown flocking or maybe covered the surface in felt to get it closer to the screenshots I looked at, but I didn't have any of those things available in the time frame I needed to get this video out, so I'm just gonna compromise and dab on some Mod Podge to texture the surface and help hide the seams. After about 2 coats of this glue, my seam lines in the back, on the top, and the edge of the brim pretty much all but disappear. I set it aside and let it dry for a couple of hours before moving on to paint. Two coats of Plasti Dip. Once it dried, I hit it with a couple of different shades of brown. Depending on the image that you look at, Wonka's hat varies in the promotional posters and the movie itself being very orange or dark tan. I did not do a great job of matching the color due to limitations on spray paint and not wanting to wait on multiple layers of acrylic paint to dry. So it's brown. That's the colors I had. I wanted my texture to stand out just a little bit more, so I mixed a slightly lighter brown than my paint job and lightly brushed across the raised surface of the glue. Some people like their props to be exact. I like the building part of the prop, so to each their own. I thought it would be fun to add a little Wonka bar to this build and maybe tuck it into the band on the hat. I was able to find a screenshot of the label on the front. I went into a drawing program, added the pink to wrap around to the back, and figured out the exact dimensions of the bar based on a movie prop that was selling from Prop Store a while back. You can find these patterns out there, but a lot of them are for sale, and I just made my own and now I'm sharing it with you so you can have it for free. I seal the basic copy paper that I had in Mod Podge on both sides and then let it dry before cutting it out. Here are the dimensions I found from the screen used movie prop that sold a while back. I'm gonna get it close enough by cutting it out of this 6mm foam. Then I sanded over the top edge of the foam, covering it in foil, and glued it down with hot glue. Then I took my wrapper and glued it around the foil. With that, I have a fake chocolate bar. Apparently the size is close to some actual chocolate bars out there, but as this is just going to be a display purpose, I wasn't worried about that. This was my route to go. A lot of what you see in movies is actually made in a very similar manner. to finish off my hat, I just need a light brown ribbon to go around the side. I don't have any ribbon, of course I don't. So I settled on some 1-inch elastic banding that I dipped in some watered down brown acrylic paint. After a quick dry with the heat gun on low, I hot glued it into place. I left a small portion on one side unglued so that I could tuck the chocolate bar into if I wanted to, or I could remove it. The versatilities, haha. And with that, my Wonka top hat and chocolate bar are finished. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, not too bad. Definitely something that could easily be thrown together relatively quickly. If you've never thought about making fake chocolate bars or candy or any of those things as decorations for set design or something, here's an easy way to go about it. Thought it was a nice, fun little thing to add to the video. I really like this hat. I definitely think it could be repurposed and redone up to make it and modify it into what you need it to. There are a lot of things out there who have top hats. You could definitely go cyberpunk or finish it realistic, cover it in maybe some faux leather or what have you. But yeah, maybe you will try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull some foam out of a closet and make it into a hat. Maybe a couple times. Maybe you'll get some.
That's not bad.
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. We have so much time and so little to do. Wait a minute. Strike that. Reverse it. Peace out. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.